This is Join Us in France, episode 493, 493. Bonjour, I'm Annie Sargent, and Join Us in France is the podcast where we take a conversational journey through the beauty, culture, and flavors of France. Today, I bring you a trip report with Talin Janjik, who shares the story of their 6-week vacation, the trip of a lifetime, which took them from Los Angeles to the streets of Paris and beyond. You'll hear how they navigated France, including a family reunion, a wedding. They went to the south of France and coped with some unexpected events, and also made the most out of every moment. A great episode with insights on traveling with family, embracing local cultures, and the beauty of spontaneous exploration. Stay tuned to learn how Talin's meticulous planning and flexible approach paved the way for memories that will last a lifetime. This podcast is supported by donors and listeners who buy my tours and services, including my itinerary consult service, my GPS self-guided tours of Paris on the Voice Map app, or take a day trip with me around the southwest of France in my electric car. You can browse all of that at my boutique, joinusinfrance.com/boutique. Patreon supporters get new episodes as soon as they are ready and ads free. If that sounds good to you, be like them. Follow the link in the show notes. There won't be a magazine part of the podcast today because I am scheduling this episode early, and it'll come out when I'm leading the Bootcamp 2024 edition. You'll hear all about the Bootcamp soon. Stay tuned. Bonjour, Talin Janjik, and welcome to Join Us in France.
Thank you, Annie. So nice to join you in person. Thank you so
lovely
much.
to talk to you. Sounds like you had a fantastic trip. So tell us, when was this trip? Where did you go? Who were you with?
Okay, so this was a second leg of a 6-leg trip we took from Los Angeles across the Atlantic to Armenia. And then we went to France. Then we moved on to Italy.
Wow.
This was a 6-week vacation. We called it a trip of a lifetime because we were all able to be together. And it was me, my husband, and my 3 older kids who are, 2 of them are in college and one of them is a freshman in high school.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, they're growing up and that you don't know when you'll be able to do that again, right?
Exactly. So it was very special, especially for us as a family. And then the first trip, the Armenia trip, was mainly because of a wedding in Armenia. This whole vacation was bookended with a trip to Armenia for a family reunion and ended with my daughter doing a dance intensive. My oldest daughter is a dancer. So she did a dance intensive in Italy, the town named Torino, where she had a fantastic time. But I kind of tried to arrange, so what do we do between Armenia and Italy? How can we manage this so that she doesn't have to go back and forth and we can just extend the trip so that she could stay with us and make this a really nice summer vacation. And mind you, this was the first time we all traveled together to Europe and first time in Armenia.
That's fantastic.
So France was, the reason why we stopped at France was because I have family there. My cousin has lived there for over 40 years. She has children and grandchildren. And all these years she was begging us to visit her. Finally managed. So this trip basically included a lot of family reunion. My aunt who visited us from London came to France to see us.
So it was a complicated trip.
A lot of people coming in and out with different itineraries and agendas. And I was kind of like the operator at a switchboard trying to figure out. So it was, like I said, it was a whirlwind of an experience for me, but I really worked hard at making sure I took it all in.
Right. That's great. Okay. So while you were in France, well, first of all, how did you organize? How did you decide where you wanted to go? Well, you had the family there too, right?
Yes. So Paris, of course, was where we wanted to stay mainly, but also we wanted to see south of France. And then from there on, we took the train to Rome. So we tried to minimize flying for multiple reasons. And I had heard how traveling through towns in Europe was so easy with train, even though I consulted with my cousin and she kind of tried to talk me out of it. No, take the plane from Nice. It's just an hour and a half to Rome. I said, no, I really want to experience it. And we had a lot of luggage, as you can imagine, with girls and girls. And then we had multiple itineraries where we've had a wedding and then a dance. So all these different kinds of wardrobe and outfits. So it was hard to travel with just a carry-on. The medium-sized luggage, 5 luggages with carry-ons, carrying it through trains was a little bit difficult. But my husband especially said, I don't want to go through the security again and the weight of the luggage, the time we have to spend showing up early, obviously delayed the process too a little bit. So we figured, let's just go for it. It's an adventure. And thankfully for having listened to your podcast about the apps for Trainline and SNCF, that helped me so much to be able to, from the convenience of my mobile, I was able to plan this train trip from Nice to Rome without a hitch. Everything went very smoothly. Of course, I was stressing a lot, and we can talk about that later, but all the details. So that was it. The Paris was mainly because obviously we wanted to see Paris and our cousins. And then from there on, we traveled down through south of France to Rome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it went out, because I would have been kind of like your French relative. I would have, that sounds complicated. So I was like, not sure. So good for you.
Great.
Good for you. All right.
Train gods were with us.
Yes. That's fantastic. So tell us, what are some of the things that you enjoyed most on this trip, the French part of the trip anyway?
Of course, we would have loved to see a lot of landmarks and the tourist attractions and checked off a lot of things on our bucket list, but we didn't get to do that. Honestly, we set our agenda. And by we, it was just me and my older daughter, who is Francophile. She loves French people and everything about France. So she and I decided, you know what, we're not going to fill up our itinerary with so much to do. Let's just go enjoy the neighborhoods, walk around, sit at cafes, watch people, and take it all in, especially that we have family there. We wanted to just kind of walk through Paris with them and experience their daily life. And whatever we got to see fantastic. And whatever we missed, not a big deal, So that kind of a lot of pressure off of me to have everything scheduled, because as you can imagine, for 6 weeks, I had to plan things. So Paris was one part of it, but having family there helped. However, I had kind of scheduled the structure of every day. Like I had some blocks scheduled for certain experiences, tours, performances, because she wanted to see a few performances. And we got lucky. We saw Paris Opera Ballet.
Nice. Can I ask you a question about the ballet? Sorry. Did they let you look around the opera house either before or after the performance?
Okay, so this was at the Bastille Opera.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't make the Palais Garnier was all sold out. The performance.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay.
But their performance was so awe-inspiring and nothing we've ever seen anything like that before. So I highly recommend doing a show at either venue. So anyway, those kinds of things, like I researched things that appealed to us. From my youngest one to my husband, he's into history. So I came across this experience for World War II, a walking tour with a historian. So him and my son did the tour together and they really enjoyed it. Then I did the Eiffel Tower, climb up to the top for the two of them, because I knew the girls weren't interested. They're like, we're happy just sitting by the Eiffel Tower and watching it. We don't have to climb up, for example.
Okay.
Or my son and husband were.
And you mean literally you climbed, you walked?
Yeah, I think no, they took the elevator.
Okay, elevator, okay.
But my son wanted to climb and my husband said, no way. They took but he was really amused by the view and they enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
So I had to divide to conquer, basically, but I really checked in with them beforehand. Like, what do you guys want to see? Tell me your agenda and I'll figure things out. Like my youngest one is really into perfumes and shopping. So I found an experience on Airbnb, a tour of the perfumeries in Le Marais, for example, and wonderful shops, and smelled all these beautiful scents. And they bought a bottle and they brought it with them. And it's very special. So I think my advice to families that are going with older kids, where you can't really just drag them everywhere, you have to acknowledge their likes and dislikes and their moods.
Yeah.
Sometimes up and they don't want to get out of bed. And so what do I do? Or they're tired. They don't want to come to this dinner or so on and so forth. So it worked out really well where I was very fluid with my planning. So, I mean, it's Paris. You can't go wrong. You just walk out and it's so beautiful.
And that is the right attitude, because if your goal is to drag the whole family with you, they're going to resent that. I mean, especially older teenagers, they just want to do their own thing. And it's not like it's dangerous to leave them on their own devices for a few hours, Let's split up and we'll meet up again tonight, right?
They're savvy enough with their navigations to be able to walk somewhere and meet us somewhere. So it was really nice. Like if my son didn't want to come with us right away, he wanted to sleep in, he would meet us somewhere later on with his app. It's just very easy to do. And we were staying at the second arrondissement, which was very safe, relatively safe. Obviously, you still have to be careful because it's busy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But local, centralized enough where just a 15, 20-minute walking to this.
To a lot of places. Yeah, it's very central. And it is it's a mixed neighborhood. C'est Léal, right? This is Léal that you're talking about.
Yes. Well, opera area.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a bit of a mixed neighborhood, but it's very nice. I mean, it's just busy. Lots of people.
We were on a busy street, definitely loud. A lot of, trucks going in and out in the morning, especially. Our neighbors were loud, but it worked out. It was okay.
Did you rent an Airbnb or?
Again, I got very lucky. All 6 cities that we stayed, I did Airbnb because there was 5 of us. And I noticed that the hotel rooms were more expensive because we had to do 2 rooms. It was going to be hard having them connected. We had a lot of luggage, so we needed more space. And I think I saved more going with the Airbnb route. Although the Airbnb in Paris was the most expensive one, I did splurge a little there because I wanted it to be a nice experience for the girls because they had seen all these Instagram photos of cute little balconies, and we didn't want to disappoint them too much. But it worked out really nice because the area was pretty centralized. It had AC, washer/dryer, really nice decor inside. So
yeah,
it was worth the extra that we paid. So,
cool. And you liked the neighborhood?
Yes, we liked the neighborhood, but I think next time, which is actually going to be in September, we're coming down for another wedding in Paris. Excited. That I prefer probably Le Marais or Saint-Germain. Probably those areas would be more suitable for the girls because it's more vibrant and trendy and a lot to do when you walk out.
Fantastic. Yeah, very nice. How did you get around in Paris?
Okay, so a lot of walking because we were mostly relying on Uber and Bolt, but they weren't reliable. And I tell you why, because the first night we arrived, it was during the riots where the
Which one?
Because of the
retirement?
No, after that, the killing of the young men.
Yes. The kid who got into a thing with the police and they shot him. Yeah.
So it was pretty violent. And my cousin called me and said, "Are you sure you want to come?" And of course, we had been, preoccupied with everything that was going in Armenia, and I hadn't really paid attention to the news. So I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I mean, riots, we get it in LA all the time. It's not a big deal to it. A couple of smashing windows or whatever." But they were scared. So I think I read later that about 25% of the tourists canceled for that weekend. So that when we arrived Friday night, all the shops were closing early. We had a tour on Saturday night. It was a late night tour of, driving tour with the Citroën. Citron?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The cheval.
The Cheval, yeah.
Yeah.
I was very excited about that, but that got canceled. And everywhere we would want to go eat, they had already closed. Most of the shops were being boarded up. I mean, there was still definitely activity, but more in the back streets and the main area attractions. They had a lot of gendarmes standing.
It was not a normal night.
It was not a normal night. Yeah. Yeah. And because of that, obviously, traffic was really bad. We couldn't get Ubers as quickly as we wanted. So, yeah, so we basically walked around a lot, Uber, a little bit of metro and taxis.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a metro card, or you just got some tickets?
No, I relied on my cousins for that because they said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of that for you. So once or twice, they kind of accompanied us on the metro rides and they bought the ticket right away. So we didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
My husband and my son figured it out more because they did a couple of things on their own. So I wish I had that chance to discover metro more, but that's definitely going to be on our priority next time when we go, because I think especially those areas that we want to stay, there's so many metro stations, so easy to get out in.
Yeah, the metro is handy dandy, but during times of riots like you were, they often close stations. And also it's not a fun experience. Like the metro, it's smelly and busy and lots of people and I don't know. So I'd rather take the bus myself because I'm never in that big of a hurry. I can take the bus. But I understand that if you want to get somewhere quickly, the metro is more efficient,
It was just very hard to get Uber to show up on time and then tracking them down. We were late for our performance and I was just literally running on the street looking for taxis because it was so busy. So yeah, that was not. But I have to say Bolt was more reliable than Uber in Paris.
Is that right? Huh.
We had more Bolt.
It was better than Uber. That's really cool. All right, let's see. In Paris, you liked your Seine River Cruise at night?
Yeah.
Of course.
I think, again, I believe listening to your podcast really helped me figure out, first of all, which company to go to with, and then what time to choose, because obviously sunset is much later in the summertime. And I wanted the kids to see the sparkles of the Eiffel Tower. So the way we arranged it was that I believe our tour was at 10 o'clock at night and it went first towards Eiffel Tower. We made it there around 10:45, 11. 11 is when it actually started.
The sparkle?
Yes. So actually, I think it was 10:30. I'm sorry. 10:30 or 10:45. Anyway, I have to look back and I'll write it in the notes. But the way it worked out is perfect. And it was the only time, obviously, because they do it at the hour after sunset and up until 11, right?
I think they do it more now again. They used to do it till like 3 a.m. and then they stopped. I think it's back to later. I'm not certain.
For us, it was the only time that was going to with that 11 o'clock. And I got lucky. We reserved those way in advance. Just looking at the kids' face when we just passed by and the sparkles, they were just really, really touched. It was super romantic and cute. And we had hot chocolate with us. And the tour was okay. The tour guide was speaking really fast in a very thick English accent. So we couldn't pick up things that she was saying along the Seine, all the other landmarks. But it was okay. We're definitely going to have to do it one more time during the day.
Yeah, and you go by so many things on the boat. So this was the commentary from the cruise ship, right? From the boat. Yeah. Then you also enjoyed your Saint-Germain-des-Prés stroll. Nice. Because why?
Charm, and the pedestrian streets and just the little boutiques. We love all of that. For us, these kinds of neighborhoods are very attractive.
Yeah. No, they are. Yeah, what's not to like? I mean, Saint-Germain-des-Prés is a lovely area. Definitely. You also went to the Latin Quarter.
Yes, we passed by Sorbonne. Again, the college vibe, the little cafes, the small squares. That's basically why we came to Paris, to just enjoy all of that. Honestly.
Yeah. So was it your relatives who told you where to go, or was it Did they go with you some of the time?
I didn't get too much input from them. Mainly it was just places not to go. So I would check in with them on, what do you think about this? And they'd say, no, don't avoid that, or so on and so forth. But we kind of went along. Maybe the day before, I would say, okay, you guys, we have this experience scheduled in this area. What would you like to see? Let's see, is there a cafe or is a vintage store or so on and so forth? So we would just focus in that one area. Or if we were meeting with my cousins, then we'd say, okay, maybe from here we can go and check out this place. So it was just the day before is how we chose the next day's itinerary.
So every night you'd say, okay, what are we doing tomorrow?
Right. Well, we had structure. So I had something happening, but left a lot of room for including their agendas as well. It could be a military itinerary where it's like this. And so,
No death march through Paris.
No. And keep in mind, I had my aunt coming from London and she's 80 years old.
Oh,
and fantastic. Like, she kept up with us walking around the neighborhoods in the heat of summer. She would be like, maybe you can call Uber. And I was like, oh, auntie, but there's like, this is a one-way street and, we can't get the car to go the other way. So we have to walk. So she kept up with us, but I really had to, consider her mood and where she wanted to be. And so, like I said, it was very dizzying for me because I had to keep everybody happy at the same time, make it a fun experience. So that flexibility in my itinerary where I didn't have to cancel something, because we didn't make it there, that worked out really well. So that's what I would say for large families, especially us, where everybody's very vocal about what they like and they don't want. It was a great success, but certainly we came back thinking, oh my gosh, and we didn't see this, and I can't believe we didn't do that. So it's okay. It wasn't going to be our last time visiting Paris.
Exactly. There's always more of Paris. No matter how much you put in, there's always more to see. So it's not like,
My husband and son got to they went to see the stadium, the soccer stadium in Saint-Germain. And then my husband said, while you guys are out shopping, I'll take the double-decker bus tour. So he was happy with that. We did the 3 hours in Louvre with my cousins. So my cousin has a gallery, an art gallery in Paris. So they're very knowledgeable about art. So I had actually reserved a private tour or semi-private tour of Louvre, but he said, cancel it. What are you doing? I'll give you the tour myself. He has a little baby too with his baby carrier. He came and he took us around, mostly his favorite paintings, but obviously we went and saw Mona Lisa too and did the infamous with the kids. But definitely 2 hours, 3 hours was not enough. So I have to go back on my own. The kids were tired. That was the first night we got to Paris. So after a 5-hour plane ride, it was tiring for them. Fridays, Louvre is open till 9. So this was a late night, like 6 p.m. ticket, which I had purchased directly through their website. But we got lucky. There was no line to get in.
Often that's the case with the late tickets. Somehow.
I couldn't believe it. And then I thought maybe it was because of the riots, but there were still people out and about. It was a perfect timing. Just a little late because of,
Yeah, well, on a Friday night, you can do that. That's very cool. Oh, you took a baking class. Tell me about that.
I highly recommend the experiences are on Airbnb. Not many people have mentioned this. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, but I came across that, just scrolling down after I booked my Airbnb, how about you check out our experiences? And that's how I found the perfumery one and the World War II, because these are local people that are showcasing their talents or their skills. And this croissant baking and pain au chocolat was fantastic. Oh my God, it was the best tasting croissant we had there. And I actually took a few and gave it to my aunt for her trip back, plane ride back to London. And she was like, oh my God, this is so tasty.
Good, yeah?
So it was a 3-hour baking from scratch, We did the dough and a lovely instructor, wonderful people, really cute little kitchen. And that was fun. And that's what I like to do. Honestly, when I book trips, I want to hang out with the locals and not do the typical get your guide tours or the Viator or TripAdvisor. Those kinds of things, they're for me, are a bit commercialized and we had
Very much
negative. So getting down to this kind of experience where you engage with the Parisians was really fantastic. Expensive either.
Yeah, because obviously they don't have, 60 people following them around. They just have you and your family or perhaps some other few people, but not too many, right?
Exactly. 5 or 6 people. The person who runs the business is the one who's providing the services. So obviously they care and make sure you're happy.
I didn't even ask you if you speak French.
I've started taking French lessons on Lingoda after we came back. But no, I did not speak French at all. My kids took French lessons, French classes at college, but everyone was speaking so fast that they would get really intimidated to respond back in French. But a lot of people, all the vendors pretty much assumed we were French because we look more French than American with our Armenian background. And so, yeah, they would call, my daughter's name is Tara, but they kept calling her name at Starbucks, Tara, Tara. And she was like, oh, that's me. That's that's really cute.
That's good.
We love being able to blend in.
Yeah. What was the name of the app you used to learn French?
Oh, it's an actual Zoom in-person or on Zoom French lessons. It's called Lingoda, Lingoda. You sign up for 2 months, 15 lessons, for example, and then you can schedule live classes on Zoom with fellow students and a French-speaking teacher.
Oh, cool.
Nice. And you can work on your accent and yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'm taking in-person lessons in Spain, but I'm going home tomorrow. So I'm going to have to stop the in-person lessons for a while, but for Spanish, but I'll be back. But that's the thing about taking lessons with a local is that they also tell you about local events, things going on, like, oh, there's this week or there's that tonight. Did you hear about this or that? So it's always nice to have a local input when you're going to stay a while.
Another company that I really liked, and I used them a lot in Italy, was Live Tours, Livtours. Live Tours was a little bit more higher scale as far as the service they gave, and their tour guides were very knowledgeable, especially the ones in Italy. Like you said, they were local, but also they gave us a lot of other suggestions where to eat, how, the local businesses. And just the extent of their knowledge was impressive.
I'm looking through your list. Is there anything that you learned about France that you would like to share with people? Or was it like, this was your third trip, right?
No, I've never been to France.
Oh, you hadn't been to France?
We had not been to France. So it was really like, we just barely scratched the surface. Everything the stereotypical things that we heard were so untrue, honestly. I mean, I don't know if it was because of the way we perceived them, or I think we didn't come across as arrogant or pretentious. We came in being open to learning and respecting the culture. And of course, we just love everything about French people. But I think our background as an Armenian, Middle Eastern, having been all over the world and having lived with different kinds of people, it's helped us to, appreciate something new rather than say, oh, I don't like it. My way is the best way. We adapted really easily to their ways and we respected their ways. So I think that kind of energy came across and people treated us nicely. One thing that stood out to me the most was just the attention to details and going out of their way to do things that we don't see here in the US. And I appreciate that about Europeans so much. For example, the first day when we were walking towards Lafayette, the Gallery Lafayette, it started raining. And obviously my girls had said, oh no, we don't want to carry an umbrella while we're shopping. And I had an umbrella in the room, but never mind. So I stopped at little bookstore, and it was a stationery, and I started browsing and did some shopping and bought the umbrella as well. But the girl took her time, the girl at the register took her time to seal my package in like a little plastic bag. But the way she did it was so creative so that it wouldn't get wet, while I'm walking. And I thought, oh my gosh. And that was my first experience. First day we walk out. And I said, I don't think people in Paris are rude. And actually, I think they're just, really thoughtful. They all spoke English, and we did say our bonjour and merci, and we were very polite. But it was very impressive, I thought. And the younger, trendier neighborhoods were pretty much what we experience here in Los Angeles, like the West Hollywood, and everybody's that kind of same vibe. So it felt really good.
And was it massively different than what you experienced later when you went to Italy? Or
not massively different, but Italy is just wild. Their energy level is exploding everywhere you go, right? The people. And so I think we liked the elegance of France, the classiness and the politeness, but we also enjoyed the wilder side of Italy and
over the top Italians.
Yeah. So like I said, we like to blend in and not kind of stick to our old ways. We're leaving the US because we're traveling and we want to gain more from our travels rather than just toot the same horn,
Oh, yeah. And 6 weeks is a long time. That's really a complete change of pace. When you can take that kind of break, you're away from everything at home. It must feel very refreshing to go home afterwards, like, whew, had a real vacation, right?
It wasn't enough. If you ask me, it wasn't enough for me because I would have loved to stay another few more months. Everything about Europe and Armenia as well. It's vibrant. There's life outside of your house. You connect with people. There's good energy. People are not so stuck with their ways, and they're not, they bend the rules a little bit.
Sometimes.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
Whereas, I feel like in the US, we're always just black and white and there's no gray zone. But that gray zone is really important to give people that ability to show their uniqueness and be a little bit spontaneous and a little wild and at the same time considerate of everyone around you, So that's basically my background because I was born in Iran. So I'm used to that kind of communities where people do things together and they're, someone comes and knocks at your door at 10 o'clock at night, you invite them over and you set the table and you give them dinner. So you know what I mean? So that kind of connectedness is what I thrive on.
You like connecting with people.
Absolutely. And you don't get that here because you're always stuck in your car in the freeway and go from work to home.
Yeah, it's a very different lifestyle, isn't it? Yeah.
I loved the 6 weeks. And I think it inspired all of my kids to want to go back, which is fantastic. And they'll go back on their own. And I know that they're going to be able to navigate the train stations very, very, very well because, boy, we got a lot of experience from trains in Italy, more so than France. Took so many trains in and out of Rome, then Florence, then Milan. And then from Milan, we went to Turin. From Milan, we went to Venice, Lake Como, Lake Garda. We even went Switzerland. So they got a lot of experience so they can manage it well. But our plane ride from Paris to Nice was very comfortable. I got Premier Business, I believe it was Premier Business Premier.
Yeah, business class, yeah.
Yeah, so we selected our seats and I was worried about luggage space, but we had plenty on right behind our seats. It wasn't the quietest cabin. There were families and kids crying and moving around a lot, but it was pretty comfortable. 5 hours with beautiful scenery. We saw the sunflower fields at that time.
One of the questions I asked is there anything you didn't like very much and don't recommend? It's interesting what your response was, that you didn't like the touristy TikTok references. What do you mean?
Yeah. So, obviously my kids had done their research on TikTok, nowhere
Okay.
else. They wanted to try this place and that place. And every time I would ask them, where did you hear about this from? And they'd be like, oh, TikTok. Oh, I would say, oh my gosh, here we go again. Long lines, and just did not live up to the hype, basically. It would get me moody. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to wait here for 15, 20 minutes when there's another cafe next door and they're probably going to serve the same thing, but oh my God. Check their onion soup or their hot chocolate.
Yeah, I just have to have that one because TikTok.
As a TikTok. And so, luckily we only got to do one or two of those things. And the rest of the time, because of time constraint, or we were just tired and really hungry and didn't want to wait in line, we avoided those. So I would say the food was not a priority for us as far as having a sit-down dinner, because we do a lot of that here in California. Luckily, we're in Los Angeles. There's plenty to try. So that wasn't our main. However, we wanted to try French cuisine, but we're mostly vegetarians. So except my husband, who likes his meat. But for us, it wasn't such a must that we had to have reservations to really like fancy places. We just went along with street food, cafes, bistros that could sit us right away, because there was 5, 6, 7 of us, for example, And so, my gosh, every day I had the yummiest croissant, no matter where I got it from. Pain au chocolat was, beyond belief yummy. We did go by that famous, is it Cedric Gollet? Cedric Gollet, he's very famous. He's an artist who creates these gorgeous croissants and pastries.
Oh, I see.
Beautiful to look at, but that was one of the places they wanted to stop. And I asked the lady and she said, it's an hour wait. I said, oh my God. I told my daughter, and it was already starting to drizzle and she was willing to stand in line under the rain. And I said, absolutely no, we will come back another day. And we never did, but she had her croissant.
It is really funny to me how people get excited about some place that they've never been to, but because they heard about it from somebody that they enjoy watching on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, they will do all sorts of crazy things. Because I'm like, I'm with you. I'm like, well, there's others, if what we want is a pastry, there's lots of pastry shops in Paris. We don't need this one in particular. I mean, it'd be cool if you didn't have to wait for an hour.
More and more you hear that their service goes down and the quality goes down because they have such a high demand.
Too many people. Yeah. And if you know you're going to be full every day, no matter what, then you can skip a few steps, right? I'll never see these people again.
Yeah, exactly. No, when you said your favorite restaurant, I really couldn't think of one because we just ate on the go and everything was delicious. Everything was amazing. So
perfect.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Talin, we've been going on a long time. It's been lovely talking to you. You're an inspiration because for a first trip to Paris, or France in general, with a group like this, teenagers who can be moody, I think you aced it. So, bravo.
Thanks to you, Annie. I honestly had maybe 2-3 months to research, and every day I listened to you.
And it worked out.
And I keep going until next time.
Wonderful. Merci beaucoup, Talin.
Annie, bonsoir.
Au revoir. The Join Us in France Travel podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2024 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.